People who work at super fancy hotels, what kind of stuff happens that management doesn't want people to know about? My wife claims that the amount of people who shit in the shower far exceeds however many people you think shit in a shower. Edit. 1,000 people have commented waffle stomp. You do not have to comment waffle stomp. Please stop giving me notifications. Okay, but this is true. And I know this because I lived in an all-girls dorm in college and our floor lost bathroom privileges because girls were shitting in the shower and trying to force use tampons down the drains. People are disgusting and will continually surprise you with how nasty they can be. That is disgusting, but what exactly do you do if you lose bathroom privileges? Like you live there and aren't allowed to pee? We were forced to go to the other floors or take turns in the one gender-neutral single-stall bathroom. I feel like our RA wasn't really allowed to revoke bathroom privileges, but I honestly don't know. The single-stall bathroom was also regularly out of order because people would have sex in it and break the entire handicap seat off the wall, so it wasn't a super sustainable solution. We were forced to go to the other floors and waffle stomp dookies there as well? We turn a blind eye to drug dealers and prostitutes more often than you think. They hardly complain and usually prepay huge bonds happily. Also, we don't give a shit if you're having an affair. When I worked at a nice hotel, the affair one was brought up in training. Never mention a person being regular, and doubly don't mention anything about their partner or the fact it's a different partner. That became a rule after some valet basically kickstarted a very nasty divorce with a wealthy guest. My parents have a hotel and I've always been told to not remember a guest unless they remember me. I never thought about it before, but I'm guessing this is why. Lol. I'm a criminal defense attorney and this is exactly how I approach going around town. Don't want to accidentally start up the "where do you two know each other from" convo unless my client is totally okay with it. Las Vegas, city of excess, people overdo it, drink, drugs, and die in their hotel rooms all the time. $2,000 per night in this place has a serious rat problem. Could be worse. My hotel has silly rats. Worked at the Luxor Casino in Vegas while I waited to go to film school. People piss and masturbate under the gambling tables. I've heard casinos keep many slot machine seats in the back because of how often elderly slot jockeys choose to soil themselves instead of going to the bathroom and potentially losing their machine. True? Edit. Damn, starting to think casinos should just put slot machines in each toilet stall. Not many, but several on reserve. One I worked at would store any chair involved in a guest fall as court evidence for a year. Usually the shit-piss chairs got pulled to the side, deep cleaned by EVs, and back on the floor in 20 minutes. Vegas. Old guys plus hooker plus Viagra plus cocaine dead. So I totally think someone does in the bathroom of our suite at an upscale Vegas hotel. When we checked in, the smell was horrid, like roadkill but worse. We called maintenance several times but they always said they couldn't find anything. Duck maintenance finding the reason for the smell. Have the desk find another room. We had a customer find the overnight front desk receptionist in the closet passed out with something wrapped around his neck and his dick flopped out. Was some kink play he used to do. Guy still kept his job. This is what I came here for, lol. So did the receptionist. We had one of the Baldwins beat up a hooker behind the building once. That was before I worked there, but people still talked about it. We had an entire wing of the hotel infested with bedbugs. They just moved through the walls from one room to the next. We waged a war of attrition that took years, and cost a lot of money, but we never stopped renting the rooms. Sometimes drug addicts have money, or maybe better said, sometimes people with a lot of money have drug addictions, so maybe once a year or so you'd have someone move in, and then end up staying for months and you didn't know it was a problem until it was a problem. One day there's suddenly a lot of police cars in the parking lot and it's something we're just not supposed to talk about and pretend never happened. We had one old guy though who was rich, divorced several times over, he just retired in the hotel. He had a room on the ground level right around the corner from the hotel bar. I don't know what he paid for it, but it wasn't cheap, and he furnished his own room. Everyone on staff knew his habits, knew his drink, knew when to leave him alone or when he wanted to chat. The funniest thing was, after he passed, he'd pre-booked his memorial at a totally different hotel. He liked his privacy, I guess. Rip Hal. Did the taxes for a ridiculously wealthy couple in Florida. Before they moved to a retirement community, they lived in a resort. I asked my boss to clarify, they lived like spent a bunch of time there, right? Nope, lived. Paid I think $1.5 million total for the room and furnished it themselves. Clearwater, Florida, very nice place for a room. Lived there for about 5 years and moved to a retirement community when the husband fell and broke his hip. When my grandparents retired, they sold their home, moved into the Maxim Hotel Casino in Las Vegas. They ran the numbers and found it was cheaper than a retirement community and had better amenities. It's probably mentioned elsewhere in this thread, but retiring to a cruise ship is extremely common as well, for exactly the same reason. Not to mention the constantly changing scenery probably has some appeal, too. My buddy was a dive instructor at a luxury resort on an island. One of the guests had a heart attack on the diving excursion before he got off the boat. The nearest doctor couldn't come for 24 hours, so they put the corpse in a guest room and cranked up the aircon. Of course, reception gave the key to the corpse room to a newly arrived honeymooning couple. They were greeted by the star of Weekend at Bernie's edit for clarity. Doctor was to sign off death, do formalities not to save life. Mauritius in the early 1990s. Gosh, this would be something I imagine on White Lotus. A family member used to work at Opryland Hotel in Nashville. Yes, it's super fancy. For about a year, they had a phantom shitter. As in, random dumps left in random places. It was always in corners where security cameras didn't reach. They figured it was an employee, and had some ideas, but never knew who it was, until someone left and it stopped. This was about 20 years ago. Of course, I'm sitting in a bed at this hotel right this moment, lol. You have take a shit in a corner where the camera can't see you. My brother worked in an upscale hotel in Southern California. A morbidly obese guest sat on the toilet in his room, shattered it, got his femoral artery slashed by a chunk of broken toilet, bled to death, and flooded his room when the water line ruptured. My brother found out about it from the maintenance guy who found the body. Management made sure no other guest ever knew, including the guests in the room below the death scene who called for maintenance because water was running down their wall. I'm not even obese, but you somehow unlocked a new fear of breaking a toilet or slashing an artery. Thanks for this. The amount of sex toys left behind will blow your mind. Call me stingy, but if I put down money on gear, you'd better believe it's coming with me when I check out. We take notes on your reservation profile. Everything from anniversary information to fave cocktails and foods. Add notes to pass along to other staff. My wife and I got married in 2009 and stayed a couple nights in a hotel during our honeymoon. Cut to 10 years later, we decided to redo our honeymoon for our 10th anniversary, so we stayed in all the same hotels, etc. Big shout out to Hotel Andra in Seattle. When we got to our room, we have flowers and a bottle of champagne with a note about how thrilled they were we were spending our 10th anniversary there after honeymooning there as newlyweds. Turns out when we booked for our honeymoon we told them and they were able to figure out 10 years later we were there for our anniversary. If we redo this trip a third time, I will 100% make it a point to stay there again, if it's still open. I want to know what my notes were from my honeymoon where I got a really bad stomach virus. Very white, only eats plain toast and white rice, spends a lot of time in bathroom. Stock extra toilet paper and leave a Magnum bottle of Pepto-Bismol on ice in the room. Did valet at an upscale hotel in SF. The number of times I parked luxury vehicles with drugs haphazardly precariously stowed in obvious places always blew me away. Not surprisingly, those guests were great tippers as they learned who to trust. So many escorts too, always laughed at dudes who'd come to the restaurant for lunch with a new lady practically every day like he was showing off his catalog of women as if no one knew he paid for them all. Human trafficking became so bad that the company gave us training on looking out for it. There is policy in place to knowingly cause you issue and pacify you. Routine elevator maintenance during a busy period because the tech travels around and it is now or 3 weeks from now. The elevator did not have unforeseen issues. Professionals are the worst guests for partying and puking everywhere and pissing in halls and breaking things and ducking in public areas. Lawyers, doctors, teachers. In that order. Whenever they had conventions, extra staff were on the next day for dealing with damage. Edit. I forgot to add overbooking as an example of dicking with people. We assumed not everyone would show on a 100% occupancy night and booked more than we could hold. The rare time we did have everyone show, here's free stuff and a ride to X hotel. We even had friendly agreements with neighboring competition to let each other know when we could take each other's overbookings. Can definitely confirm the second part of this. Used to work at a high-end lodge that hosted holiday participancy dinners for software giants and one exec peed all over a room. $13,000 in damage. We regularly had rich guys pull up in their Lamborghinis with a hooker. My favorite was the couple we had to essentially evict from their room due to smell and noise complaints. When we got in, there were dozens of designer shoe boxes and coke residue everywhere. The woman left with her foot hanging out the window as they drove away. Rich people are weird. Oof, here I am feeling bad that I forgot to pick a towel up off the bathroom floor before checking out. In the early 1990s, I had a pen pal who lived in the Deep South, and in Bon Jovi's early days, they played in her fairly rural backwater. A TV station went to the hotel where they stayed and asked how much damage they caused, on a live broadcast, and the head of housekeeping looked at the reporter like he was nuts and said they didn't even leave their towels on the floor.